Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Safir Ahmed, a senior lecturer in accounting and finance in a UK university. I also work with ACCA as an early career investor. This video is in relation to benefits in kind. One of the benefits in kind is car benefit and fuel benefit. So in other words, if an employer provides a car to the employee for private use, of course, and it is still part of the compensation an employee will receive in relation to an employer. So it is still a taxable benefit. How we calculate this taxable benefit, how we calculate car benefit and fuel benefit, it depends on the CO2 emission of the car, which is carbon dioxide emission. So HMRC supports provision of the cars which are environmentally friendly. So the lower the CO2 emission, the lower the taxable amount of the car benefit and fuel benefit, and hence the taxpayer will be saving some tax on that. The higher the CO2 emission, the higher the taxable benefit, and the higher the tax they will pay. So this video is related to ACCA F6 UK taxation students, AAT level 4 personal tax based on Finance Act 2023, and it is also relevant to academic undergraduate degree accounting and finance students as well as part of their taxation module taxation unit. So I have selected a question which is from AAT Practice Assessment 1, Personal Tax, based on Finance Act 2023. So this is the task 2 of the Practice Assessment 1, which is this task. As you can see, this is task 2, and is part A is the car benefit and fuel benefit. So if I scroll it down, you can see that what is needed, the scale charge percentage in relation to first employee on provision of the car, and scale charge percentage is basically, of course, based on the CO2 emission, and then we will calculate taxable benefit on provision of car on both cars, as you can see, and again scale charge percentage on both cars, and taxable benefit on provision of the fuel as well, in line with the information given to us here. So if you're AAT level 4 personal tax student, please make sure you make use of the reference material, especially in relation to this question. As you can see, if you click on car benefit percentage, so all of that information is given to us there. If you're ACCA F6 student, normally that some of the percentages are given to you in the exam, so please check your reference material, text data that what will be provided to you. Similarly, if you are an accounting graduate student, undergraduate students, I mean, or BSc, BA accounting student, just make sure you check that what data will be provided to you. Check with your module leader or unit coordinator. Okay, so my advice to you will be that take one situation at a time. Okay, so as you can see, Dr. D is the first person that there is a provision of car to that person. So we need to work out scale charge percentage and also taxable benefit, taxable car benefit on that. Now, the simple calculation you need to remember, and of course that this what you will be doing as part of your rough working as part of the assessment. So car benefit is calculated as list price times by scale charge percentage. Okay, so I will come back to this once we do the calculation of it, but I just wanted to show you the basic sort of formula or equation that which we use to calculate car benefit. Now, in line with this question, you can see the requirement is, first of all, we need to work out the scale charge percentage. So in relation to the first situation here, as you can see that it is a hybrid petrol car with electrical range of 120 miles and CO2 emission is 40 gram per kilometer. Now, in line with that information, if you look at the reference material, the CO2 emission will fall between 1 to 50 gram per kilometer. And of course, we'll be looking at the electrical range miles as well. So electrical range miles is 120 miles, which falls between 70 to 129 miles. So if you can see the 1 to 5 CO2 emission and then 70 to 129 electrical range, that gives us percentage of 5%. So the scale charge percentage here will be 5%. Okay, and in relation to that, what will be the taxable car benefit? Well, it depends on the information. Now, please be mindful, we always use the list price, not the cost, although the cost is given to you here as well. So we always use list price. List price is the price of the car when it was new. Okay. Also, what you need to notice here is any capital contribution by employee will be deducted from the list price. So let me show you the calculation. So we have all of these amounts. So the list price is 26,200 and capital contribution is 6,500. So let me show you how we will calculate that. Okay, so the car benefit, like I said, list price. So this list price, and then if applicable, it is minus capital contribution by employee, or in other words, you can write here contribution by employee. Yeah, so list price minus contribution, capital contribution by employee times by scale charge percentage. But there is a limit for this contribution. So even though in this question that the employee has made 6,500 contribution, but the maximum we can deduct is 5,000. You need to remember that. Okay. So in other words, in this case, list price, we already know. So I'm just writing that information from the question, which is 26,200 and minus capital contribution. And remember that this will be a maximum of 5,000. Although the person has contributed 6,500, we can only deduct from here is 5,000. So this will give us this calculation there. So in other words, is this minus this gives you kind of net list price, you can fairly say. And then now car benefit will be 21,200 times by scale charge percentage we already determined for this car, which is 5%. The car was provided for the entire tax year, so therefore we don't need to proportionate it. So which is 21,200 times by 5%, which gives you 1,060. Okay, so let's enter those amounts. So which is 1,060. So we dealt with the first one. Now let's deal with the second situation. So Miss B is provided a car. So the number of months available you can see is 8 months. So what does that mean? That we will be proportionating our calculation because it was only provided for 8 months out of 12 months in the tax year. The car registered on 14th of January 2021. Now that's very important as well, because as you can see, this is a diesel car, by the way. So it's diesel car and it meets RDE2. Now, if it is a diesel car and it was registered after 1st of September 2017, as you can see in the reference material, the additional 4% will not apply. Normally on diesel cars, we add 4% percentage as part of the scale charge percentage, unless if the car was registered after 1st of September 2017 and it meets the RDE2. So RDE2 is the environmentally friendly cars, in other words, despite the fact the car is diesel. So therefore, we don't add that 4%. So that 4% won't be added because it was registered after 1st of September 2017 and it meets RDE2. Okay. So how we calculate the rest of it? So remember, up to first 55 gram per kilometer is 16%. And anything more than that, we will be adding 1% for each 5 gram per kilometer. So let me show you how we're going to work out the fuel scale charge percentage for the second situation here, which is in relation to Miss P. So obviously this was in relation to Dr. D. Okay, so how we will calculate the scale charge percentage here. So remember, for first 55 gram per kilometer, it will be 16%. And then anything more than that, now what you do is you round it down to something divisible by 5 with the whole numbers. So as you can see in here, they told you 112. So we'll be making it as 110 minus 55, the first 55 gram per kilometer, and then divided by 5. So in other words, for each 5 gram per kilometer, anything more than 55 gram per kilometer, 1% will be added. Okay. So this will be, of course, 110 minus 55, which gives you 55, divided by 5. So that will be 11%. So the scale charge percentage for this car is going to be 16 plus 11. So remember, the car was registered after 1st of September 2017 and it meets RDE2. So therefore, we are not adding 4% despite the fact the car is a diesel car. Okay, so we determine that the scale charge percentage, and we need to enter that there, which is 27%. Now, what we need to calculate is we need to calculate taxable benefit on provision of car and taxable benefit on the provision of fuel. Okay, now we need to take into consideration all of this information. Now, remember, we always use the list price. So list price will be 36,100 in here. There is no capital contribution from employees in relation to this car, so we won't be deducting anything. However, that towards the use of the car, there is an employee contribution, so this will impact on the taxable benefit. Okay. So let's calculate the taxable car benefit in relation to this car. So remember, which is list price times by scale charge. So the list price here is 36,000 something. Let me double check that. Yes, which is 36,100, and times by, it will be 27%. We just determined that. And remember, the car was provided only for 8 months out of the tax year. So therefore, you will be dividing it by 12 and times by 8. So 36,100 times by 27% divided by 12 times by 8, which gives you 6,498. Now, what you do from here is you deduct the contribution from employee towards the use of the car, which is given to us again per month, which is £120 per month. And remember that the car is going to be provided for the 8 months, so times by 8. So we'll be deducting this amount there. So 120 times by 8, which gives you 960. So this will give you the taxable car benefit, so which is this minus this. which is 5538. So that's the car benefit. And so let's enter that value in there. And of course, that the final thing that what we need to work out in relation to this question is the taxable fuel benefit. So taxable car benefit, we just determined, which is 5538. And the final thing, which is taxable benefit on provision of fuel. Now, what I want to show you here is that in relation to the car fuel benefit, we will be basing that on this amount, which is 27,800, and you can see that that is provided to you in the tax reference material. So please make use of that. You don't need to remember that amount as it is provided in as part of that question, as part of the reference material, you have seen that. Okay, now the final thing that what we need to determine here is the taxable fuel benefit. And this will be based on, remember, 27,800, and the percentage will be same. So what we calculated, which is scale charge percentage, which is 27%. And of course, you will be proportionating it. Remember, the car will be provided for 8 months in the tax year. So therefore, fuel will be provided for 8 months as well. Okay, so divided by 12 times by 8, which is 27,800 times by 27% divided by 12 times by 8, which gives you 5004. So let me take you back to the question, so we can just enter this value in there, which is 5004. So this was a good question in that sense that one of the car was given to you hybrid car. So for a hybrid car, the car percentage is based on electrical range of the car, electrical miles of the car, and of course CO2 emission. Whereas for a petrol car or a diesel car, it is purely just based on the CO2 emission, the percentage, and we have seen that how to calculate it in a particular situation. So I hope that this will help you to tackle other questions as well. The key thing here, that if I can repeat, what you got to be careful, how many months the car is available to the employee. Also, the capital contribution towards the car, remember, up to maximum 5,000 is allowed. And the third thing is that if there is any contribution from the employee towards the use of the car, we deduct it from the car benefit. Okay, so those are the few things I think you've got to be careful. Other than that, I think it's not too hard. So thank you very much for listening. I will be back with other videos.